so honored to sit with today Mary Faith Hall, who is a parishioner here at Sacred Heart. But I'll bet you there are some things that you don't know about her. She's from South Bend, Indiana, and believe it or not, she was in the 4th grade when I was first at St. Joseph Church in South Bend, Indiana, right?
Correct.
And you heard my voice here and made that connection.
Yep.
After all these years. We won't even say how many years ago that was. But I'm really grateful that you're here. And of course, Mary Faith is the executive director of Thomas Mclaren School. So welcome.
Thank you.
And first of all, I'd like to ask you a little bit about Thomas Mclaren, because obviously he was the architect of our church here at Sacred Heart.
Beautiful church.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thomas Mclaren was an architect born and raised in Scotland at the end of the 1800s. He, like many people, got tuberculosis and moved to Colorado to get the cure, and he never left, luckily for us. So I always think of him, hot young architect in London around the turn of the century, and moved to Colorado, which was a lot of nothing. And the founders of Colorado Springs asked him to design our buildings of this new city. So he designed over 200 public and private buildings in Colorado Springs along the Front Range, including this beautiful church.
Wow, I didn't realize it was so many.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Mary Faith, you are the executive director of the Thomas Mclaren School.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? So, tell us a little bit about your experience now in this absolute chaotic time of COVID as an administrator of a school, and if you have any insights about how do we balance some of this stuff? I mean, you have such a unique perspective because you are an administrator and you also have 4 children,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so talk to us about that.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. You use the word chaotic. It is chaotic. I think just the impact on so many levels on everybody's life, physically, economically, socially, just the layers of upheaval are real, and they're changing all the time. And so I think both with my work hat on and my family hat on, that's just true. I think school leaders are acutely aware of all the fluidity that families are experiencing, just their real desire to just know what's going on. And, unfortunately, schools can't make decisions until we know what's going on, and people don't know what's going on, and things are changing all the time. So it's just demanding a real flexibility and patience that I think a lot of us haven't had to have in our work life before.
Yeah. What has been the most difficult thing for you at school?
I think at school we certainly feel the weight of protecting our students and protecting our staff, and feel the weight of making really wise decisions for everybody involved coming back on campus. And also the weight of knowing kids are isolated, kids are lonely. Obviously we want them to learn, we want them to keep up academically, but we worry about them socially, emotionally, we worry about mental health, all the things that parents worry about for their own kids, we as teachers worry about for our students as well.
Tell us a little bit more about that, about children's mental health at this time, and kind of your concern about that.
So I think it's no surprise here in El Paso County that teen depression and anxiety is on the rise. And I think the community as a whole is doing a beautiful job in growing awareness and education around this issue. And of course, isolation, quarantine, and just the fear of the unknown only exacerbate these issues.
Right.
So I think it's just something we have so many details, so many things we're trying to work out, and yet that always has to be in our mind. What's for the common good of these young men and women.
Right. And what about at home? What's been the most difficult thing?
Well, when we were under full quarantine, I think like many people, the difficulty was knowing how to step away from work. For schools, the work increased. I'm very aware some people lost their jobs. For school people, the work doubled. So to know how to step away from that. I personally was very blessed because my older children, several of them came home and they decided they wanted to learn how to cook and do fun things, and so I was very well cared for by my children.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. If there is one piece of advice, if there was one thing that you could summons for folks in terms of that balance of, the difficulties of home and school and everything in between, is there one thing that you would say to focus on?
I'm not sure if there's one thing. I think, the things Chanita spoke about a couple weeks ago, don't forget exercise and sleep and the things that are so important to keep as part of our routines. Our routines may need to change, but keeping that in mind. I think prayer, I think getting on our knees and asking the Lord to help us to trust Him and to give us wisdom and stamina as things are ever changing.
Right. That's wonderful. Mary Faith, thank you so much for being here. We were
Thank you.
laughing before all of this, of course. I still think I have long blonde hair, and she remembers that very well. So, but though, however, she was in the 4th grade. So, thank you so much for being here. God bless you, everybody. Have a good week.